Welcome to the AgriMinds podcast. If you're in agriculture and feeling the weight of responsibility, juggling work, family, and everything in between, you are in the right place. I'm your host, Casey Bull, coach, speaker, and founder of AgriMinds. Each week, we'll talk about the real side of leadership, how to think clearly, manage your time, set boundaries, and show up with intention, both at home and in the field. Let's get into today's episode. Just a few years ago, I found myself sitting at the end of the field. I had one kid who was climbing into the semi with my dad to go haul grain to the elevator, and I had one kid in the back seat who had just fallen asleep. My husband was at home also trying to get some rest, and he had just gotten off of working a night shift. My kids were just not having it. They were loud and energetic and totally rambunctious. And so I thought, okay, everybody get in the car. We're going to go take a drive. And I found myself pulling into the field where my mom and dad were harvesting corn. And so I thought, okay, finally, some peace and quiet. I can be so productive. So I opened up my laptop to get to work, and I found myself staring at the screen. As bad as I wanted to get some work done, I could just not focus. My brain was going a million miles an hour, thinking about literally everything except for the thing I needed to get done. And I remember thinking to myself, I chose this. Why do I feel so unsatisfied? I built this business. I made the decision to leave corporate and do something on my own. Why am I so unhappy? Why am I so unfulfilled? Shouldn't I love everything about this? The truth was, I used to. When I started that business, I was so excited. I loved diving in and just getting to work. And I found myself almost feeling resentful of it. I knew what I was doing wasn't working. Something felt off. I couldn't name it, but I knew whatever I was doing wasn't sustainable. And I told myself about a year before that the moment you leave this company and start your own business, then you'll feel better. The moment you start your own company, you're going to feel re-energized, and you're going to have the freedom and the flexibility that you've always wanted, and you'll finally feel like yourself again. Yet here I was, a year into it, and that was not my reality. If anything, it felt heavier because now I wasn't just showing up to a job that I didn't enjoy. I was now responsible for everything, for generating incomes, for making the decision, for the outcome. There were people counting on me. And if you're in agriculture, you probably know exactly what that feels like. The work that you do doesn't just affect you. It affects your family, your team, your community. You have to show up. There are people and livestock and crops counting on you to show up. So you do. You keep going and you show up every day and you do what needs to be done. And you tell yourself, as soon as this season is over, then I'll feel better. As soon as things slow down, then I will work on X. As soon as this is done, then I will finally insert thing you've been wanting to do. But you don't. That season never really comes, does it? They just blur into the next one. And over time, you realize you're tired. Years have gone by since you originally said, as soon as this harvest is over, then I will work on myself. Then I'll get started on weight loss. Then I'll start eating better. Then I'll call grandma. But years have gone by. And you realize that not only have all of those things been slipping, but you are tired. And I'm not talking just physically, but mentally and emotionally depleted. And you feel it in your conversations with your kids and your spouse. You see it in the energy levels that you somehow don't have anymore. And you notice it in the decisions that you make, whether it's irrationally or because you're second guessing more. You're snapping quicker and you feel like no matter what you do, you're doing it wrong. And you can't please anybody, and that the work that you're doing is never enough and nobody appreciates you. And that is the challenge. That's where so many people are sitting right now. And that's what we call burnout, my friend. Burnout is what happens when you've been carrying too much for too long without any rest. Burnout is the way that you've been working and living, and it's no longer sustainable, but you keep pushing anyway. And so the real question becomes, what do I do about it? Okay, fine. I'm irritable. Fine. I'm tired. What can I do about it? Most of the time, people tell us, oh, well, just take a break, go on vacation, work less, stop saying yes to this, and this. Okay, but that's not super realistic to most people listening to this episode. That's not super realistic to most people within the agriculture industry. We can't just take the day off. There are so many more other moving pieces and complexities that we have to take into consideration. The solution is learning how to operate differently inside of the life that you already have. And that starts with awareness. Hey, quick pause for a second. If you're listening to this and thinking, this is exactly how I've been feeling, I want you to know you don't have to keep trying to figure this out on your own and spinning your wheels. This is the exact kind of work that I do every single day with agriculture professionals who are feeling that same sense of overwhelm and feeling stretched thin and honestly just tired of operating the same way day after day. If you're at a point where you're ready to stop pushing through and actually start changing how you show up both at home and at work, I'd love to talk with you about that. You can learn more about what that looks like in the show notes. Okay, let's get back to the episode. I don't think that burnout comes from doing one thing wrong. I think it is building up when you have repeated patterns that aren't serving you in this season of life. Those patterns can look like constantly second guessing your decisions, feeling like you have something to prove, saying yes when you don't actually have the capacity to add more, feeling like everything is urgent and you're constantly putting out fires and you're reacting all day instead of actually being intentional and proactive with your time. And here's something else I'll call out. I don't think any of those one things on their own feel like that big of a deal. But when you add all of them together, they create a way of operating that's just not sustainable. And so here's where this shift is going to start. First, I want you to acknowledge it. Don't just brush it off as just another season. Because if you just keep calling it another season, you'll just keep calling it another season. Name it. Secondly, I would encourage you to pause. And I'm not saying you need to take the day off. And I'm not saying you need to go on vacation. But I would encourage you to take a few minutes, whether it's before everybody else in the house gets up, or maybe you have to lock yourself in a bathroom, or maybe it's just driving down the road with no radio on. I encourage you to pause before you start taking any action. Take a step back and ask yourself, what actually matters right now? Who actually matters the most right now? Then I would encourage you to start small. I would not say you need to overhaul everything overnight. Hello, again, not realistic. But start small. What's one teeny tiny little shift that you can do differently? Maybe it's saying no to someone. Maybe it's just sharing with somebody what you've got going on that day and literally helping distribute the mental load that you've been carrying. Sometimes I just go up to my husband and say, I don't need you to solve anything. I'm not looking for a fix. I just need you to hear everything that's on my to-do list, just so that you know all the things I have going on. And I cannot tell you how amazing that feels and the weight that's just off of your shoulder, knowing that somebody else knows everything that you're carrying. Then I would encourage you to start identifying what is it that's actually draining you. It could come from different areas. And I don't think that burnout is cookie cutter. I honestly think burnout can look differently for every single person. So I would identify what's draining you. Is it time, lack of, too much of, not being utilized in the best way? Is it your decisions? Is it the commitments? Here's the deal. If you can't name it, you can't fix it. So name it so that you can fix it. Then I would encourage you to start setting small boundaries. Not all at once. Again, just start saying yes to things that actually align with the type of person that you are and the goals that you have and the season of life that you're in. And that way you can start saying no to the things that aren't. Simplify your priorities. Not everything is urgent. There's no lion chasing you right now. And not everything matters equally. So simplify your priorities. I would also encourage you to check in with yourself regularly, not just after things are overwhelmed, but before you get there. How's this week going so far? Are things starting to get a little crazy and hectic? What adjustments can I make? And maybe you do that with yourself every morning before you head to work. Maybe you do that at night before you go to sleep. Checking in with yourself and just asking what's working, what's not working, what adjustments need to be made. What's one thing that I can say about myself that's a nice compliment, that I'm doing well? And here's something that I'll finish up with. The goal isn't necessarily to eliminate stress. The goal is to make what you're doing sustainable. And when you start doing that, things do begin to shift. Your decisions will feel clearer. Your days will feel more manageable. You stop feeling like you're constantly trying to just keep up. That's the solution. Not necessarily perfection, but just a different way of thinking about it. And it's very rarely the problem that's the problem. It's the way that we're thinking about the problem that's the problem. And so over the next few episodes, we're going to break this down even further. We're going to talk about your mindset and how that is shaping everything. We'll talk about boundaries, where you're overcommitting, where you're undercommitting, your time, and why everything might feel urgent to you, and how you're leading yourself day to day. Those are the things that will either lead you into burnout or help you move out of it. Thanks for being here today. If this episode resonated with you, make sure that you're following the AgriMinds podcast so you don't miss what's coming next. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, send this their way. These are the conversations that more people in agriculture need to hear. Talk to you next time.